Guys, so this is a review of the Samsung Galaxy J2, and this is a brand new phone for 2019, and it cost $150, so it's a very budget friendly phone. And so let's take a look at this phone. So to run down the specs really quickly, it has a 5-inch QHD display. It has a Gorilla Glass on the top actually, and the rest is plastic. And the pixel ratio is 540 by 960 pixel, and it has the standard 16 by 9 aspect ratio that you could find in a lot of the other older phones. Nowadays they're more of like the 2 by 1 aspect ratio or even 19 by 9, but this is a more traditional one. Considering that this is a budget, I did expect a traditional 16 by 9. The camera on the back, it is 8 megapixels, and the front facing camera is 5 megapixels, and it does have 16 gigabytes of internal memory and 2 gigabytes of RAM. And there is also a micro SD card slot behind this back cover, and you can expand it up to 400 gigabytes, and it has a 2600 milliamps battery life or battery capacity, which is pretty good. So to go over the design of the phone, it is constructed primarily out of plastic besides the glass. It is a Gorilla Glass, so it will be pretty good. And the side is plastic as expected. It feels like a very nice plastic though. It feels sturdy, and it doesn't feel like it's gonna bend anything, and it feels almost like metal, but it doesn't have that cold touch to it. But it's actually one of the better plastics I felt on a phone. The back cover looks really a lot like glass. I thought it was glass when I first looked at it, but it feels completely different from glass. It has a very glossy texture and a look, and as you can see, it is a fingerprint magnet, so that's something to consider. It attracts fingerprints very easily. And then the camera looks pretty classic. It does have slight protrusion, so when you lay it down flat, it does rock a little bit if you touch the side, but it shouldn't be too big of an issue. And it also has a speaker in the back right next to the camera, which is a very questionable place, and I don't really like the placement at all, but that's what it is for a $150 phone. The back cover is actually removable. As I've said, this is plastic, so it's quite bendy. But inside the phone, you can see SIM card slot and micro SD card expansion slot, up to 400 gigabytes, and it has a battery. It's 2600, and it's pretty good. I'll get to that later though. And I will start with the overall performance and just the overall performance and daily usage in a daily life, basically. And so for a $150 phone, you probably aren't expecting much out of it. The software and the overall experience was pretty good actually. So the software is one of like the classic Samsung software that you can see on pretty much every other Samsung phone, even the flagships. But it does not have the newest One UI. But to be fair, not even the newest like Note 9 has that update yet, not for all carriers. So it is understandable that they didn't put the One UI, because that would be pretty crazy for this phone. But overall, everything's very smooth. Just the UI is very smooth, and even it does have Bixby. If you swipe to the left, it's very smooth, which is pretty surprising. Considering that this has probably a lower, processor than other Samsung phones, but it's still pretty smooth. So I was pretty surprised about that. and everything else looks about the same experience and same button layouts. Although you could change it, and the same look. So I thought that was pretty good. The fact that they included the same software as their flagships, and they didn't like make any stupid changes or anything. Um, Speaking of similar software to like the flagships, the camera app is very, very, very similar to the flagships. Although the camera quality isn't obviously as good as the flagships, it is pretty respectable. I will put an object here. It has a very similar layout. In fact, it has the exact same layout as the flagships. It has a pro mode even. It has panorama, and you just swipe left and right to go to different modes. So pretty interesting, and does have obviously settings. So the camera app is very similar, and the camera quality honestly isn't that bad. It is definitely it's definitely an okay camera, and it's not obviously not good, but you can definitely get some detail out of it. Even though it's a little bit blurry there, it you do if you get just the right focus, it will be detailed, and the colors will be pretty good for the most part. For this camera, you're obviously not going to get flagship camera specs, but you will get a decent camera that you can probably use in daily life. Um, and the battery life is very good. It definitely lasts me a day, and because this has such a low resolution screen, it actually saves. It actually doesn't use up that much battery life, and especially because it has less RAM, a slower processor, a less demanding processor rather. So it kind of pushes less the battery for it. So 2600 I found was plenty for one single day of my life, which I believe I have a pretty moderate use, and I ended up with like 20% at the end of the day, 20 to 30%. So I thought that was really quite good. Um, so that's good. One thing, and the display is also pretty good. You can definitely see the pixels because it is a low resolution screen, but the colors are pretty good, and the brightness is also actually very good in my opinion for this price point. Um, and obviously the colors are also very good, and I really enjoy the display. One thing I don't enjoy, however, is the thick bezels, top, bottom, and on the side, and that's because some other phones at this price point have like I guess bezel-less displays. That's not really bezel-less because they still do have bezels, but it's a lot thinner than this guy. Um, so the design of just the front look and the screen implementation could have definitely been done in a better way. And 5-inch screen is kind of small, especially in today's standards when the Samsung flagship, the smallest one, is like 5.8 inches. So it is not a big phone to today's standards, obviously. And Samsung actually makes a pretty big deal about how they have expert customer support, and um, they have something called the Galaxy Real Time Customer Care, and it's like an app basically, and so there you have that too if anything goes wrong on your phone, and yeah, so that's pretty much it for the performance aspect of it, and the speakers are pretty good too. The placement is just absolutely terrible. Um, if this was improved, this would be a much better phone. And it keeps the headphone jack, and it does not have a USB-C port, which isn't that big of a deal to be honest, I guess. And for most people who are gonna pay for this, for like p- probably for on a low budget, and I think they'll be okay with the micro USB. Yeah, so that's that, and so everything is very smooth and surprisingly runs well. Like Instagram runs well on this, most browsers run well, and all of the simple basic apps run very, very smoothly and functionally. So this is a very viable phone in my opinion for $150, but you can probably find better alternative. The advantage to this is the brand, I guess. The Samsung brand is pretty good and renowned, and they do have I would say they have one of the better customer service, especially compared to their Chinese counterparts. You know, they have a little bit better customer service, and like, you know, and it also has a pretty decent camera, I would say, for this price point, and a great battery, and the display is also pretty good. The downsides are, however, that this overall design is kind of chunky. It is a chunky phone, and the front has a lot of bezels, so it's not attractive, really. Um, and another downside would be, um, the just the overall construction of it. The removable back cover is very nice. It just feels kind of flimsy. Although the side plastic is one of the better plastics I've seen on a phone. And also on a side note, the buttons are also very, very good. I love these buttons. So yeah, so that's that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. So for those of you who are choosing to get this phone, I definitely recommend it. But if you're the type of person who cares a lot about how your phone looks and how it feels in the hand, just remember this isn't the most beautiful design or the thinnest design. It's quite chunky and heavy, actually. Um, but it is a very functional phone. So if you just need basic tasks done very, very well, or if you need a decent camera and $150 phone, I definitely recommend this one. Thank you for watching.